Welcome back to another digital lesson on the United States of America. Now, last week you made a profile and found out about the landscapes in the United States. This week we are going to have a look at climate. So, let's find out what influences the climate of the continental United States of America. Let's start with the basics. Alright, so let's have a look at the major influences on the climate of the United States. Now, as we found out last week, the western part of the United States is characterized by mountain ranges, as you can see in the Rockies, as you can see in the Sierra Nevada and the coastal range. Whereas the central parts are more or less open plains, there is a minor mountain range, the Appalachians, on the eastern coast. From the north, there's generally speaking a polar influence, which means cold winter temperatures and generally less rainfall. From the south, we have a subtropical influence, which means hot temperatures in the summer, moderate temperatures in the winter, and occasionally heavy rainfalls. The whole of the United States are influenced by what is called the Westerlies. So that means that generally winds tend to come from a western direction. These Westerlies have a tendency to move, which means if the sun is on the Tropic of Cancer in summer, then the Westerlies have a tendency to move up north, giving the southern parts of the United States, in California for example, rather hot, dry weather. If in winter the zenith of the sun moves to the south, the Westerlies also come south. The Westerlies come from the Pacific Ocean. That means they carry a lot of moisture in the air, which then comes down in the form of precipitation. From the north, there is generally speaking a continental influence. Continental because Canada and Alaska form up a huge landmass which delivers high amplitude in temperature and generally a low precipitation with a summer maximum. The last influence that we have is the Maritime Influence from the Pacific Ocean, where we get moderate temperatures in general and winter rain, as explained by the movement of the Westerlies. This Maritime Influence also plays a role on the Atlantic coast in the east, but less so than on the western side due to the westerly winds. Only the coastal lowlands are affected by this maritime influence from the Atlantic Ocean. And then there's a large body of water in the south as well, of course. The Gulf of Mexico also has maritime influence on the southern states, delivering high rates of precipitation to the south. So, summing up the key influences on the climate of the United States, we can distinguish the continental influence from the northern areas with polar air coming far south. There's a high amplitude in temperature and generally low precipitation with a summer maximum. From the southern areas, there's the subtropical influence with high temperatures and occasional large rates of precipitation. There's the maritime influence, least from the Atlantic, medium from the Gulf region, most notably from the Pacific Ocean, due to the fact that the westerly winds carry moist air from the Pacific Ocean into the western parts of the United States. Also important, the westerly winds move according to season, so in the winter they can come further down south due to the fact that the zenith of the sun and the ITC has moved far to the southern hemisphere. In the summer situation, when the ITC is up north, then the westerly winds will also be pushed north, meaning dry, arid summers. There are two more interesting factors worth mentioning. The westerly winds carry air into the United States, But due to the fact that mountain ranges block the air in the western part, we have orographic rainfall, which means rainfall along the mountain ranges in the western parts of the United States, whereas the central plains, especially in the northern central regions, are affected by something which is called rain shadow, because as the air sinks from the Rocky Mountains, it has a tendency to warm up, expand, and the air can take up more moisture in gaseous form, which means that evaporation takes over, and this area can be affected by a high variability in rainfall. The further east we get, the more rain we can expect. There are more bodies of water, there's more maritime influence from the Atlantic and the Gulf region. And the second interesting aspect is the fact that the mountain ranges in the United States run from north to south in the west, and they run from north to south in the east, meaning that the central plains are open to both the polar influence from the north and the subtropical influence from the south. And that's a very interesting situation because there's nothing to block subtropical air from the south or the polar air from the north, and they can meet right in the middle of the United States, in the heartland, leading to interesting meteorological phenomena that we're going to have a closer look at next week. So the next step is simple. What we need to do is we need to match these climate diagrams to the correct cities across the United States. Before we want to do that, let's open up a window and get some fresh air. Oh my God! Now they're all lying on the floor. I think you guys must help me. So please log on to the MEBIS website and check your course and then do the task that is given, in which you are asked to match each of the given 7 climate diagrams to the correct city. This way you can check if you understood the main influences on climate in the United States. Thank you very much, and come back next week.